All right, I think I am live over on YouTube now. So we'll start jumping into this. If you're watching the recording of this over on YouTube, welcome. All right, how's it going, guys? We're here for our Sunday night hangout with the Hustle Buddies. We've got Kwanda here, Cynthia, Kathy, Shekinah, Jeffrey, and Juan. What's up, guys? And Travis, what's up, man?
What's up?
All right. So I'm not sure. Some of the people are saying like the room button is grayed out. Were you guys all able to get here just fine?
Yeah, it was fine.
All right.
Actually, it didn't take us. It was just fine to get on. It was easy.
Sweet. Yeah, this is like a new Facebook feature. We tried it out like 2 weeks ago and it worked pretty well. And then they shut it down for a week because there were a lot of glitches. But it's sort of like Facebook's answer to Zoom meetings. I think they're trying to get into this market. So on Sunday night hangouts, pretty much every week, as long as people are showing up. So yeah. Hey, what is up, Ethan? How's it going, man?
How's it going, Nathan?
It's cool to like put people's actual faces with like their profile pictures that I see. Like, oh yeah, I recognize Ethan.
Excuse the mess behind me. So.
Oh, my camera angle is like this because we are rearranging. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, we're rearranging my my office. So I'm building a little studio, but for now it is just a wreck in here. Whoops. Well, that was a bad idea. All right. And Shannon's here as well. Yeah, there's a lot of names that I recognize. That's awesome. All right. So I figured I'd jump on, do a live, do some like Q&A stuff. I can share a little bit like what we're doing. I know in the Amazon world, at least, we've actually sort of taken a step back just for now. Our Amazon business kind of ebbs and flows with our content stuff. So the more content we're pushing out, the less time I have for Amazon. And so I'll spend like a week doing a ton of content, and then I'll spend a week doing no content and like all Amazon. So this past week has pretty much just been like my content rearranging, getting YouTube better set up and optimized and things like that. And then starting tomorrow, I'm not sure if I have any coaching calls. I do coaching calls on Monday, but if I don't have any coaching calls, then I will be going out sourcing really hard tomorrow. It'll probably be like a 14-hour day. Hit some Walmart, some Kohls, see if some of my outlet stores are open yet. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about. What is new with you guys, or what are some issues or things like that you guys are dealing with? Just go ahead and start chatting, and if two people go at the same time, you just kind of figure it out from there.
So what's up, guys? This is Kwanda.
Hey, Kwanda.
On so people can read who they're talking to.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm new to Amazon and the whole thing, and kind of got discouraged because I purchased things wholesale. The packaging didn't exactly come right. Things were torn, and so I was like, well, it's still new, so how do I sell it if the packaging is torn? So that was one thing. The other thing is I found a product that was dated, but I sent it for permission so for grocery and topicals. It was just one of those quirky kind of products. And so Amazon then said, well, you have a receipt, you don't have an invoice. And I was like, my invoice is a receipt, it has all the stuff you're asking me for. And then what else? And then the topical part, they said, well, this is in the wrong area, so we don't think we can get this. So it's been a little discouraging within the last week or so. So I'm trying to get started, and I have a bunch of stuff, but I can't really get it to the next level.
Yeah. So there's a couple things in there. I'll touch on what I can remember, then you can remind me of the stuff I missed. And also, by the way, people over on YouTube, can you guys hear the Facebook people talking? Let me know in the comment section. All right. So for the first part, Kwanda, she was saying she got a wholesale order and some of the stuff she received was like ripped up. So for that stuff, go to Seller Central and look up the condition guidelines. Even though something is completely unused, it doesn't necessarily make it new. Amazon lays out exactly in their condition guidelines what each condition is. And so like when they say new, it specifies like new, completely, like the packaging is completely intact. There's no signs of anything on it. Used like new, they'll say it's still like an unused product. It's still new, but it has maybe this little thing that's wrong with it. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but it lays it out very, very clearly. Unfortunately, if your product is damaged, technically, like if you are following the rules by the letter, you're not supposed to list that as new. So yeah, you can sort of take that up with your wholesaler as well. We've done that a few times. If we get a ton of stuff that's damaged, we like, hey, we can't sell this stuff. It came to us damaged. We need replacements, or we need to ship this back or something. So you can sort of try to work with them there. And then it sounded like, sorry, I was trying to work on something with the YouTube people and fix a problem there. Were you saying, Quanda, that your invoice was rejected when you were applying to get ungated?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, but it is an official invoice, right?
No, this one was a receipt.
So yeah. So unfortunately, receipts will never work for getting ungated. If it's like a receipt from a box store, it won't work. If your wholesaler gives you something that looks like a receipt, it's not really, unfortunately, going to work. Yeah, that's just unfortunately the nature of things. Sometimes if it's a legitimate wholesaler and they give you something that looks like a receipt, you may be able to work with them and sort of explain, hey, I'm sorry, like I need this to be an invoice. Like I need this invoiced out for me. Can you guys reprint this? Something like that. And depending on the wholesaler, you should be able to do that. If they can't, I mean, we did a really long video on YouTube about how to get ungated in grocery. You can use that same company for basically all of the like topicals and beauty and all that stuff. The same company will do everything. So it's not like you don't necessarily, if the wholesaler you're trying to use kind of falls through, it's not the end of the world. There's a million wholesalers out there. You just go to Google and grocery distributor or grocery wholesale order or something along those lines, or topical wholesale order, or select a specific brand. Maybe you want Maybelline. Maybe it's Maybelline. And you go to Maybelline distributor or Maybelline wholesale supplier or something like that. Just go to Google and type in those keywords and then go through the first couple options. And I'm sure one of them will be able to get you set up. So hopefully that helps.
Wanda, did you say that you received stuff from Kohl that was damaged? Is that what you had said?
No, I received some product that was damaged, not necessarily from Kohl. It was
Okay.
it was a different wholesale distributor.
Because I just received a box during the whole COVID thing from Kohl's. It didn't have any packaging in it, and stuff had literally busted out through the boxes and stuff. So I ended up having to take that back. That's why I was just curious if other people had the same problems or not.
Okay. So I mean, so my whole solution, I guess, to this is seeing what the whole thing is on how I can list it. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else have any issues or questions or big things you just oh, that's real funny. I see. Is that one of our old students? I don't want to say her name out loud. I think it is. She's waving to me. All right. Any other issues? Let me see if anyone on YouTube had questions I can answer. They're saying it's hard to hear the Huss Buddies. I tried to fix it. I'm not sure a good solution for this, running both simultaneously, unless I can figure out how to live stream a screen share on YouTube. But I don't yet know how to do that, unfortunately. This is my first time trying Rooms along with YouTube, so it might be a little bit glitchy. If it doesn't work, sorry, you can head over to Facebook and then just join that room. If you're not a part of our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/hustlebuddies, and then jump in the room over there. It might be easier. And then if it doesn't work, I'll just take this off of YouTube. So, all right, back over to Facebook. Hey, Jesse. Yes, Cynthia.
Hi. Yeah, so we're mostly selling in grocery thanks to the BOLA list.
Awesome.
And, we started to see some momentum and movement when we started to sell, but now it's been like 3 days and no sales. And I think it's mostly due to price tankers. So I'm wondering, is the pretty much the solution to reprice things, like lower the prices? And the other part of the question is usually the margin is like what, $2. So by the time you start to lower your prices, it's like you're really going down to the bottom. So do you have any like insight or advice when it comes to that?
Yeah, it's hard right now. So the first thing I want to touch on, awesome job using the BOLO lists. I'm glad it's been working for you. With the BOLO lists, though, the real key with any BOLO list, and it's a common complaint about them, but it's because not everyone knows how to use a BOLO list. And so I really want to reiterate this. It doesn't matter if you're buying my BOLO list or Joe Schmo's BOLO list. They all function the exact same way, and there's a key to using them properly. And the key is, if stuff on the list is great, awesome, buy that stuff, but don't stop there. You want to use a list to find new stores maybe you haven't thought of. Geek.com. But because it was on a BOLO list, now I knew this is a good place to source. So then on my own, I went over to ThinkGeek and started looking stuff up. I think they've gone bankrupt since then, but so I went over to ThinkGeek and I was typing stuff in and finding my own things, and it was great. It was a whole new sourcing area that I'd never heard of, never thought of, didn't know exist. And I only found it because this BOLO list had an item from there. So use it to find new stores maybe you haven't thought of. And then also when you see an item, let's say, so on our BOLO list, a lot of times they'll have groceries. Let's say there's like a 6-pack of ramen or something like that. It says, go to Walmart, get this 6-pack of ramen. Awesome. Do that, but don't stop there. Look to see if maybe there's a 12-pack that's also profitable, or a 24-pack that's profitable. Or maybe we said the chicken ramen was really good. Well, you should check the beef and the shrimp and the whatever else, the spicy ramen, and then check other stores. So a lot of people are like, oh, this is out of stock in my store. They might say out of stock online, but you got to go in store or check similar stores. Because if they have it at Walmart, they probably have it at Target, and they probably have it at Dollar Tree, and they probably have it Publix or Meijer, Kroger, whatever stores you shop at. But yeah, okay. So that's the first part. Awesome job with the BOLO list. Hopefully that'll give you some ideas with that. For the second part, as far as prices tanking, dealing with price tankers, and specifically right now with groceries, that's going to be huge. I know a lot of people have been complaining about this in the group, and they feel like either BOLO lists are ruining their thing or beginners are jumping on and ruining something. And that's not really what's happening. What's happening is we just had a worldwide pandemic where everyone, including the vast majority of Amazon sellers, were staying home. And so there was virtually zero competition, and the demand was sky high because everyone else was also shopping online. As we're opening up back here in the US, more and more Amazon sellers are shopping, and less customers are buying things like ramen online. They're going out to Walmart now because they're not as afraid. And so unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's been really profitable for the past 2 months is not going to continue to be profitable moving forward. So with a grocery price tanking right now, personally, I would not wait out anything. I don't expect grocery prices to go back up. Now, grocery has always been a good category. It's not that, oh, grocery's done for and we're all out. That's not really what I'm trying to say. Grocery was like a gold rush for the past 2 months. It's still going to be a good, stable job. It's just not going to be a gold rush like what it was the past 2 months. So I wouldn't expect prices to bounce back up just because the supply and demand curve, it was way out of whack before, and it's sort of equalizing right now. So what may have been profitable a month ago or 3 weeks ago is going to continue going down. So for me, and this is my how I operate with all prices currently, regardless of a pandemic, things like that. I would rather get my money back now and then use that money again for something else. Even if I only make 10% ROI or something, that's 10% ROI that I didn't have. And honestly, like if you have any investor, if you talk to any investor and you're like, oh, I'll get you 10% ROI 2 weeks from now, they would jump on that. So I know like with retail arbitrage, it's like, oh man, I'm only making 10% or 5%. But in any other realm of investment, that would be a ridiculous ROI over the course of like 2 weeks. So if you do that every 2 weeks, you just made a ridiculous amount of money over the course of a year. So for me, I pretty much always stay with the price. I will continue going down and I'll sell out because I want to sell out. I'm assuming it's going to continue going down, and I'd like to put my money into something else. Now, under normal circumstances, again, it's a little bit off and different with COVID happening. Under normal circumstances, if I find a replen that's really, really good, and then the price tanks, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to follow the rank down. I'm going to sell out of my stuff, but I'm going to mark and write down what that item was. So I have an Excel sheet with a bunch of different ASINs and a bunch of different price points. Like, here's what I bought it for. Here's what I was selling it for. It's profitable at this price point. So I'll have just a few different things. Let me see. I think Namat, your mic is kind of loud, Namat. We're hearing a lot of like ambient stuff in the background from you. Awesome. Perfect. So I'll have all of that written down, and then I will go back and check about once a month all of my previous replens to see where they're at. And I've had replens that will come in and out of profitability multiple times throughout the year. I mean, there's something that we're selling now. I think it was the very first replen I ever found. So it's like 3 years old, and there's been a lot of months where it's not profitable at all, and a lot of months where it is, because when it becomes unprofitable, everyone sells out and everyone tries to get rid of it. And then there's no more supply, and then the demand goes up, and so then the prices raise again, and we'll see the prices go up and down and up and down. I tend to follow that instead of keeping my price, because I don't want to pay the high storage fees, and I don't want other people to think that it's still profitable. I'd rather sell out and make other people think this replen is dead, and then get rid of it, and then I'll jump back on. So that's sort of my personal strategy with that.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Awesome.
And to your point about the bullet list, I mean, yeah, we were doing that. Like yesterday,
awesome.
We spent 2 or 3 hours at Dollar General. And
yeah.
Things that were not on the list.
Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Sweet. All right. Anybody else? Any questions? Any issues? Anything you want to shout out or chat about?
What's up, man?
I have a question. Oh.
No, go ahead. You ladies first.
I have a quick question. So we're new. We're about 4 weeks in, and we're doing strictly FBM.
Okay.
And I know you recommend doing wide and not deep, but are there instances or are there hidden reasons why, if you find a really good selling product, you wouldn't go deep in that initially starting out? So
with FBM, it is a little bit different because it's much easier to test the waters with FBM. Usually, traditionally, up until about 2 months ago, we were basically 100% FBA. So most of our tutorials, most of our tips, things like that, they're all with me thinking and assuming that someone is doing FBA. If you're doing FBM and you're killing it, let's say you grab 5 of something off the shelf, you list it while you're in the store, and then they all sell out. Oh, absolutely. Go back and buy all of those. The difference with FBA, why you can't really do that same thing, is because I have to buy them, I have to prep them, I have to ship them to Amazon. It's going to take a week, 2, 3 weeks. Then it might not sell, and then so it's hard. It's harder to judge with FBA. If you're doing FBM, you can test stuff right then and there. So list 5 of them. If 5 of them sell in a day, awesome. Get 25 or 50 and see how fast 25 or 50 sell out. And then you basically, a general rule of thumb is you want to keep about a month's supply. Now, if you're doing FBM and you're doing something like grocery or something where you see a lot of competition jumping on, I wouldn't go too deep right now, because most profitable products that are profitable now are not going to be profitable a month from now. It's just the nature of things. But I mean, when we're saying go wide, it's normally talking about FBA. So if you're finding something that is selling like instantly, absolutely go back and get more of that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I think Travis had something.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
I appreciate you, because that was kind of part of one of my questions. So my wife Taylor and I, we are brand new. I appreciate what you're doing and all the tips and such. By brand new, like we went out scanning yesterday for the first time.
Awesome.
Products on
Welcome to the addiction.
So yeah, super excited. Obviously lots of questions, and kind of just excited to hear other people ask things, because I know it's questions I don't even know to ask yet. But kind of just one of the things that I'm seeing just now is for us, the margin between the FBA and FBM for us has been like almost everything that we scanned. I think we spent about 6 hours in the store yesterday and picked up roughly 40 or 50 products. And I don't think that maybe one or two of those products, and I could just be in the wrong aisles, made any profit FBA versus FBM. And I don't know, like I said, maybe I'm in the wrong store, the wrong aisles.
Yeah, some of it. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely different products that are going to be more profitable one way than the other. On average, you will make more money doing FBM, but that's because you're doing more work. Like if you think with FBA, you're putting 1,000 things into a big box and then shipping like 1 unit of 1,000 things to Amazon for them to deal with, then it sort of makes sense because they're fulfilling 1,000 different orders. Whereas me fulfilling 1,000 different orders, like that's going to take me a couple days to fulfill 1,000 orders, unless it's all like the exact same thing. If I'm selling 1,000 different things, that's definitely a multi-day process. Whereas with FBA, I can scan in 1,000 things in a couple hours, like an afternoon, maybe an evening, half a day maybe, and then send it all to Amazon. So FBA fees are a lot more, and so you do usually make less. With that said, some other drawbacks. There have been things that we will make more FBA because of shipping. Oftentimes we will see, especially on a listing where there's a ton of newer sellers that haven't necessarily like adjusted their shipping templates, we'll see someone jump on, and maybe everyone has been selling it for $19.99 plus $10 of shipping. We'll see someone jump on that has like 1 review, which means they're a new seller, and they'll list it at $19.99 with free shipping. And that's a monstrous difference. Like that's a 50% cut in price. And they might not be aware that they're doing that, but because they did that, well, now it's not really worth my time to try to match that FBM because now I have to list it at $9.99. Whereas if I ship that same product FBA, I can still send it at $19.99 or maybe $21.99. You can usually charge a little bit more for FBA prices. But yeah, because of issues like that, sometimes we'll sell things for more FBA. And then on the flip side, there's some things that are never going to be as profitable FBA. So we will see an exact example of this. We were selling cans of, it was like canned pumpkin mix stuff. It's not really all that profitable anymore, but we were selling a lot of canned pumpkin mix during Corona. I don't know why people really wanted to make pumpkin pie, but we were selling these canned pumpkin things, and it was 6 cans altogether. For me to do that FBA, I would have to put 6 cans into either a ridiculously strong poly bag so that like they wouldn't fall out and break, or I'd have to put them inside of a box, label that box like this box is ready to ship, then put that box inside of another box to actually send it to Amazon. Whereas with FBA, I take 6 cans, I put them in my USPS priority mailer, boom, 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 and ship that off. And so with large things or with big multi-packs, those are pretty much always going to be significantly better as FBM. But hopefully that sort of gives you some comparing and contrasting. Why we tend to do FBA is just because it's more scalable. Like I only have so many physical hours in the day. Whereas when I'm doing FBA, like I can do a much larger quantity of things in a much shorter amount of time. And so it's a much more scalable business, but we've had to adjust and pivot because of the virus and everything. So yeah, it's been great.
Totally answers my question. I appreciate it. Thank you both.
Awesome. We've got Robert here. I'm giving him a special shout out because this is my mailman who is over watching the YouTube with his kid. Hopefully his kid thinks that he's famous now that Robert Garcia is getting a shout out on YouTube. All right. Anybody else have any issues or questions or things they want to chat about?
I will in a second when I get situated here.
All right, man. We got Jameson here. Let's see who else popped in. Brian's here. Bitsu's here. There's tons of names I recognize. All right. Yeah. So what I was sort of starting earlier with. We're trying out this new like rooms feature with Facebook. It's like their competitor to Zoom. I'm thinking I'll come on here like every Sunday night and just kind of chat with people. If people have issues, great. If they don't have issues and just want to chit chat with Hustle Buddies, awesome. But yeah, I'm as long as this is like works well, I'll probably come on here every Sunday night and do this. Yeah. So let me know if you guys have issues or questions. From our side of things, if you missed the beginning, just this past week, I haven't been doing a whole lot of Amazon. It sort of comes and goes as I do content. So I've been focusing significantly more on content and putting stuff together. We're actually updating our bra webinar, the one we did for Kohl's. For those who haven't taken it, we have a really in-depth class webinar thing that goes through like how to sell bras and other clothes from stores like Kohl's, which is great. It's awesome. But I'm in the process of updating it because I want it to be a much higher quality. So I'm fixing it up, making it better for you guys, and then we'll probably be re-releasing that in the next couple weeks. But that's what I've been working on. Let's see. Someone on YouTube, just looking at you, make the motivation coming from. I'm not really sure what they're trying to say. Sorry, I don't understand that sentence. All right. Anyone else? Issues, questions? Want to chit chat? Saw something funny on TV?
I can share a shopping experience from the last couple of days if no one else has any questions or anything.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it, man.
All right. So we had previously planned a trip up to my in-laws in Ohio. Then some of that stuff kind of got canceled with COVID, but we still ended up going in and just spending some time with the in-laws. So Kohl's opened, I think, on Monday. And I hit a couple Kohl's up there in Ohio. And then as we came back home to South Carolina, we stopped in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we ended up hitting, I think, a total of 10 or 15 Kohl's between South Carolina, North Carolina, and Ohio.
Wow.
And so we've got a ton of stuff to prep. But, I mean, the stuff is out there. And the great thing is with the cashiers wearing masks, they can't ask you questions like, why are you buying 100 bras? But, yeah, it was a great sourcing trip for us, and we're excited to get that shipped out as soon as possible. So
that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. And those like sourcing road trips are so fantastic for finding those places where no other reseller has hit. Like it's stores that I'm not hitting daily. I know like there's my honey holes that I'll keep going back to, but man, when I can go on like a long road trip and hit some stores that it's clear no one has hit in months or maybe ever, man, those are fantastic. Those are some of my favorites. That's great, man. I think whenever I'm at Kohl's and cashiers are asking me like, what are you doing with all these bras? I just say like, man, my student loans, they're nuts. And so, I mean, I'm honest with them. I tell them I'm flipping, but I sort of start it with like, oh yeah, I got to pay off my student loan somehow. Like I throw in a little joke like that and everyone relates like, oh yeah, of course. College is ridiculous. The prices on that are crazy. And so I'm not lying to them, but it like starts it off and sort of breaks the ice a little bit. So, and then if there's a manager around, usually I can sort of kind of explain, oh, do you have anything more? I'm looking at this kind of price range of bras or these brands of things. That usually helps.
Yeah, the one cashier said, so you shopping for friends and family? And I was like, yeah. And then, in my head, I'm like, as long as my friends and family are shopping on Amazon.
Exactly. The whole world is your friends and family. You get lots of friends. Awesome. All right. Any other questions, issues, things like that? I'm checking over on Facebook first.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it, Tara.
So I ordered 12 of something to become undated in grocery. And I actually, while we were sitting here, my box just got here.
Awesome.
So I opened the box and I just opened the box and they only sent me 5.
Oh, that's strange.
So I just went back on the website to check and they're out of stock. So I'm assuming they just sent me the last 5 that they have. And they have no plans of sending me 7 more. So I have to order 12 more of something else, right? This invoice will not work.
Well,
you actually need 10, not 12. But
yeah, I read that everyone just does 12. I don't know. So I ordered 12.
Yeah. So you did the right thing. Amazon specifies 10. I like to tell people 12 just to go a little bit extra just in case. And there's not like a right or wrong answer there, but so 2 questions. One, does the package that you received, does it have like a packing slip or an invoice inside of it? And 2, do you have an invoice that says 12 units of X unit?
So yeah, the invoice says 8. There's a line with 8 and 4, even though it's the same item, and then it's crossed out, and someone hand wrote a 5 over it.
And you don't have like a digital copy of that would say 12?
Not unless they email me an invoice, but I don't believe they did. I just have what came in the box.
Yeah, unfortunately, probably you're out of luck there. You can try to contact the manufacturer if it's something you can't use, or if it's profitable, then keep it. And then once you are ungated, then you can sell that. That kind of sucks. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I just didn't want to try to submit something and then it takes too long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been seeing that happen a lot. We've been so excited. I had 8 pallets of something coming in. It was one single item. It was going to be the largest like single item purchase I'd ever gotten. 8 pallets of it, and then the place called yesterday and it said they had to cancel because they couldn't actually find it anywhere. I've been waiting like 3 weeks for it. It was supposed to come next week. And they're like, oh, sorry, we actually can't find this anywhere. We're gonna have to cancel this, unless you want to wait till the end of July. That's not gonna work. So yes, I feel your pain. It's frustrating. All right. Let me pop over. Yeah, no worries. Let me pop over to YouTube, see if anyone has questions there, and then I'll come back to Facebook. All right. Ryan asks about dealing with like anxiety or depression and how to separate that from your business. Yeah, there are so many like books and blogs and YouTubers where like that is their thing, like handling mental health issues among entrepreneurs. I'm not an expert in it. Like I can't give great advice on that. I don't think any entrepreneur could ever say that they don't deal with anxiety or depression on occasion. It's just like your entire well-being is up to you. If I stop doing Amazon tomorrow, I'd stop making money tomorrow. Like it's a little bit harder than like quitting your job. I know like the whole object in motion stays in motion. So it's sort of, unless you're getting fired, it's easy to remain employed. It is, as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to stop being an entrepreneur very suddenly if you just come down with like a really serious depression. So, I think read books about it, meditate, pray, go to church, things like that is how I deal with it. But there's tons of other stuff out there, Ryan. JD, everyone in the Facebook groups always brings up Kohl's. Why is Kohl's better than any other department stores? All right, that's a good question, JD. Kohl's isn't necessarily any better or worse than other department stores. There's a lot of reasons why I like Kohl's more than some other places, say JCPenney. One big thing, I'll use JCPenney as my example because they're basically the same store. Kohl's versus JCPenney. JCPenney will put their own JCPenney barcode over just about every single item, making it completely unscannable. Means I can't pull out my Amazon seller app and scan it. Boom, right there. That's enough reason for me to like never go back to the store. As an additional reason, Kohl's has some coupons. Kohl's prices a little bit higher than most other stores. They're usually like their base price is more expensive because they assume that their shoppers are savvy shoppers who are coupon stacking. If you coupon stack correctly at Kohl's, on a normal, like any given Tuesday, you can get about 60% off of like the total that's on your receipt. On some big days like Black Friday, you can get like 70 to 80% off. If you're stacking, there's like 9 different levels of things that you can stack there. So that's one of the reasons why I like Kohl's a lot. And for beginners, people talk about clothing or bras or Kohl's a lot in beginner groups because clothing is an ungated category. You don't need to send any sort of invoice to get started with it. You can sign up for an individual account today, go to Kohl's tonight, start scanning the clearance section and come home with something profitable that you're able to sell today. So that's another reason why we talk a lot about it. Michelle says sold first 10 items. That's awesome. All right. I should try Kohl's. Anything in particular? Yeah, Robert. When I go to Kohl's, I'll hit the bra section if you're all right scanning bras. It takes a little bit to sort of get over that initial weirdness as like a big 6'2" guy. Sure, you'd probably feel the same way. But yeah, bras are really good. Men's pants and women's pants are both pretty good. Kids stuff, and then maybe like their toys or kitchen areas. Yeah. So that's where I would check if I was going to Kohl's. And then one last question over on YouTube. On Keepa, does the statistic tab tell you the total number sold? It doesn't give you a perfect total number sold. When you're using Keepa, assuming that you're using the paid version of Keepa, if you're not using the paid version of Keepa, don't even use Keepa. Like the free version of Keepa exists, but it doesn't give you any information that's useful. So I'm going to assume you're using the paid version of Keepa. You want to look at the drops in sales rank. So when you see a sales rank chart and it looks sort of like a heartbeat or like a sound wave, that's good because every time it's dropping, it means at least one person is buying it. Now, it can't give you a perfectly accurate, I guess, number because Keepa cannot possibly record every single sale. Sometimes multiple people buy at the same time. Sometimes one person buys 10 of a unit, things like that. All of those things will throw it off. What you're looking for is just consistent movement. So if the graph is moving up and down, awesome. Buy 5, buy 10, do a little test buy if there's a bunch of them on the shelf and go from there. If it's something on clearance and there's only a couple of them and you see the graph moving and it's profitable, yeah, get that, no brainer. That's obviously selling. You don't necessarily need to know an exact number. Some people sort of get caught up on that like exact number idea. But really, if you're looking at something where you're going to go really, really deep, just do a test buy 5, buy 10 of them, see how that goes. And then buy 20 or 30 and see how that goes. And then extrapolate that into what do you think a month would look like. So use your own data, but yeah, just look for like, if it looks like a sound wave or if it looks like a heartbeat, that's good. If it looks like a mountain and a cliff, then that would indicate like one sale happened here. You see that a lot with books. And if it just looks completely flat or it looks like a mountain, it means it hasn't sold in months. So hopefully that helps, Michelle. All right, jumping back over to Facebook. Anyone else come up with questions or issues or things like that, or they want to just chit chat? All right, I think we're good then. I'll probably, let me check back over, make sure there's nothing else to cover. If you guys are like sitting and watching this and you did have a question, let me know. Once we're done with questions, I'll probably just jump off. But let me see over on YouTube again real fast. Kristen asks, is it better to hang on to an item that's tanking or lose a bit of money? I would usually prefer to lose a bit of money, especially right now. It is highly unlikely that any grocery price that has been priced the past couple weeks, it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that any of those prices are going to rebound. Just the supply and demand curve has not been normal. And so you can't expect the past 2 months of sales to be any indication of what something is normally priced at. So personally, right now for grocery, get rid of it. I would rather, let's say I bought something for $10. I'd rather make $9 back on that and then spend those $9 selling something else than wait for that $10 to maybe bounce back. Jessica said Facebook was glitching out. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think most of the other people here, it's been working fine. So it might be something with your internet connection, Jessica. Is there a limit? How many users can use tactical arbitrage under the same account? I am not exactly sure, Thomas. You'd probably have to ask. I would suggest checking out the Tactical Arbitrage Facebook group. They have got a whole like support Facebook group, and ask over there. I know that there's ways to have multiple users because it's very common to hire VAs or virtual assistants to scan things for you. So I know it's a thing. I just don't know what that limit is, Thomas. Sorry, I can't be more help there. All right, and last call for Facebook. Anybody else dealing with things?
Nate, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's up, Jameson? Can you hear me? We can hear
How
you.
you doing? I got 2 questions for you. One, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I think it's like delayed like 5 to 10 seconds. So just go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the one question I have is we had spoke before about the Kohls and the Arbitrage. The boat out on is, I travel for work, so that gives me a great opportunity. However, on the weekend, I'm trying to streamline things, so I'm not outsourcing as much for the business. And then secondly, when you do sales, like I use Inventory Lab, but trying to figure out, it takes a lot of time if you go through Inventory Lab to figure out what your sales cut price is minus your overhead to see what your net is. Is there any programs that you recommend that you use to save time? So that's just like, kind of like boom, whiz bang.
Would I wonder if what your process looks like, because that shouldn't take very much time at all. So for example, let's say that I'm trying to sell this book. I'll go to Inventory Lab. I'll scan the item. I'll click the price, so it immediately just matches the lowest price. And then I will look at my receipt to see what I paid for it and type that in. So that took me maybe 10 to 15 seconds. And as soon as you input your cost of goods and as soon as you've clicked like the match price thing, it'll tell you in the bottom right-hand corner what your ROI is on that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something in your question. It should be really, really fast. There's not like a separate program that I use to calculate my fees and things like that. That's all part of Inventory Lab. That's why I use it.
Well, no, it's like, when every 2 weeks when Amazon pays you, you see they just give you a check. Boom, here's what you got. So you have to go over to see how much of that is your recoupment for just cost of items.
Oh,
what is your income off of that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think a good way, I don't know, there's not like a perfect way to do that, because especially as an early seller, Amazon is withholding so much of your payout. So let's say you made $1,000, Amazon might pay you $300. And it's not that like you spent $300 on product and you only made $300 back. No. You still have $700. It's just not in your account yet. And so there's not like a perfect good way to calculate all that out. What I would recommend, what I did at the start, is I would set myself with like a weekly budget or a bi-weekly budget, and I would spend that. And then I wouldn't really have to worry about what's coming in and going out. Then at the end of the month, I would just sort of reevaluate, like, okay, so this month I spent $100 every single week. But now our Amazon account has $2,000 or $3,000. Okay, so I can spend $750 every single week this next month. And so that's sort of what I did. I would just set weekly budgets like at the beginning and then stick to them. And then at the end, just sort of redo everything instead of trying to like recalculate it every single time. I don't know. There's not a great solution for that I know of. Maybe someone else. And again, this is 3.5 years ago that we were sort of at that state. Maybe there's someone else who's sort of in the beginning states that has figured out a really good method. So I'm definitely open for ideas and suggestions as far as, I guess, tracking that. But yeah, that's what I did, was just set a weekly budget and spent that and then rolled it back in. And it's a little bit, it'll be a lot easier if you have like a separate bank account. So that was something we did early on. We set a business bank account. I put, I don't know, well, our initial starting budget, so the $100 in there. But every time Amazon paid us, I would put all of that into the separate business account. So at the end of the month, it was easy to see, okay, this month I have this much money to spend. So I don't have a great answer for you. I'm sorry, man.
No, it's all right. And if I may say one more thing, like
yeah,
I think it was Ryan that asked, like, what do you do with the stress and depression? Like, look, right now I work in logistics, so we're keeping the country rolling, and that's very stressful.
Yeah.
And the best thing I could tell him is you have to have a goal, right, of what you want your business to look like. So, I mean, you're going to get the ups and the downs, but you got to either talk to somebody that's been through there, like our business owner. I talk to him a lot, and just keep pushing through it because you want to achieve that goal. And then you get that strength and endurance. So when those times come, you know how to handle them inside spiritually. Awesome.
I love it, man. Yeah, hopefully he could hear that. I know he's over on YouTube and they're having some difficulties hearing Facebook, but I cranked this up, so hopefully he heard that. But yeah, that's perfect, man. All right. There's a couple more questions on YouTube. Were there anybody else on Facebook that I have not gotten to that you wanted to ask something or hear something or anything?
I know that I think Sarah was the one that was talking about the gating. Real quick, again, sorry being super green today.
No, you're good, man.
A two-part question to that is, one, if we're scanning things in store and it's not on Amazon already, obviously, how do we know? I guess the first part of that question would be, how would we know, hey, yes or no on that? Obviously, I went through some of the things that you can't sell on Amazon, but if it's a similar product to something that is on there.
I would say as a beginner, I would say as a beginner, if you scan something and nothing pulls up, it says this product does not exist on Amazon, 99.9% of the time, you should just pass and move on and go to something else, and just keep scanning other things. There are ways to create listings, but it's not something that I would ever recommend to like an absolute beginner. You want to like get your feet wet before you're scuba diving in the middle of the ocean. Like there's a lot that goes into creating a brand new listing, and there's a lot of things that you can mess up even unintentionally. So personally, I would stay away from that. If it's there's some slight exceptions. So something that some beginners may be able to do. Let's say you're scanning Kohls. I'll just use Kohls and bras as the example again, because the group talks about it a lot. Let's say you have a bra. It is the exact same style, exact same color. You've got a 34A and a 34B, and the 34A pops up and the 34B does not exist. You can do a little bit more research there, and there's a decent chance that 34B does in fact exist. It's just been sort of archived, and there's different things Amazon does to do that. So there's a chance that the 34B just doesn't exist. If it truly does not exist, that is not too incredibly difficult to add a variation color, like to add the 34B to the listing that already has the 34A. That's not too difficult. It's not easy, so probably not for like an absolute beginner, but that's something once you're like a month, 2-3 months in, that wouldn't be out of the question to try your hand at.
Sure. Okay. And then just the second part of that is requesting ability to get unrestricted or ungated on a product. What is the process there? Somebody said something about sending or ordering 12.
Yeah. So when you scan something, if it says restricted, first off, you should always press apply. Just right off the bat, just click apply. One of two things will happen. Either it will say, congratulations, based on your selling performance, we've automatically approved you. In which case, awesome, you're good to go to sell that product. Option B, which is more common, is it will say, you're not approved to list this brand. Please provide us with the following information. And there's a big like bullet point list. You'll see it if you scan something that you're not allowed to sell. Like you said, you're a brand new seller. So go scan like a can of tuna or something, or any canned good, any canned food that's in your fridge or in your pantry. Scan that. It'll say restricted. Go to apply, and you'll see Amazon will give you a list. Okay, it needs to have an invoice from a distributor or manufacturer. It must have at least 10 units. It must have your name and address. It must have their name and address. It must blah, 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 blah. There's lots of different things. So what you would have to do is then go somewhere. If you were in fact sell that product, you would have to go and get an invoice for that product. And there's a common frustration that a lot of people don't realize at the beginning. When you're getting ungated, something can be restricted or gated. And those are synonyms, by the way, if you're getting confused about the terms. Same exact thing. If something is restricted or gated, it could be restricted for multiple things. So let's say you're trying to sell a little Lego piece, and this Lego happened to be like a Marvel Thor character or something. All right. So it's going to say restricted. It's going to say it's restricted because it's a toy. Then it's going to say it's restricted because it's a learning building block. That's what Legos are. Then it's going to say it's restricted because it's the brand Lego. Then it's going to be restricted because of the brand Disney, because Disney owns Marvel. Then it's going to say it's restricted because of the brand Marvel, because again, Marvel is restricted and Disney is restricted and Legos and blah, 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 blah. So what's great is one invoice. Like if you go to, there's a site, EE Distribution. We talk about it a lot. It's not like a big secret. EE Distribution is a common place people go to get ungated in toys. if you go to EE distribution and you find a Marvel, Lego, Thor guy, and it exists on Amazon and it's gated for all of those things, you can use that one same invoice and just upload that same exact invoice to every single thing. So once you upload it, now you're ungated in Marvel and Disney and Lego and building blocks and all of toys. Now, that doesn't mean that if you go and scan this Barbie, you'll be able to sell it. Yes, you're now ungated in toys, but you might still be gated under Barbie, under the brand. So there's category unrestrictions or ungatings, and then there's specific brand things. So some big categories like toys, grocery, topicals, those are usually like the 3 earliest ones that people will get or try to get ungated in using invoices. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I wouldn't go too crazy with it though. And I wouldn't start, it's like, oh, I need to sell Marvel and I need to sell Lego and I need to sell Maybelline and I need to sell waffles. Like, you can pick a few categories and that's great, but don't go crazy and like try to buy 10 units of every brand you've ever thought of, because you don't need to do that.
Sure. Thanks, bud.
Awesome. All right, let me hop back over to YouTube real fast. I might be finishing up unless people have more questions. Jessica, nope, never mind. Thomas, nope, answered that already as well. Kristen. Okay, Kristen asks, thank you. How long do you let someone return an item? Now that things are opening up, people are returning items they found cheaper. That's not really up to me. That's up to Amazon. Basically forever. I mean, if I'm assuming if you're asking this question, you're a fairly new seller. If you're an old seller, then cool. But I mean, yeah, if it's within like 3 to 6 months, I don't think twice about it if they're actually returning the item. If it's past the 6-month mark, it sort of depends on how much of a fuss they're putting up. I actually just read something on the seller forums. Now, I am not recommending anyone here ever reads the forums on Seller Central. It is a poisonous pit to go down. But I happened to see it in my sidebar, and someone said that their customer was trying to get a refund for something that they ordered 11 years ago. That's a little bit much. I would probably just ignore that customer and say no response needed. Yeah, that's 11 years is a little bit beyond the statute of limitations on your return. But yeah, I mean, if it's within like 3 to 6 months, I'm not too worried about it. It happens. And if you say no, usually they'll just kick it up a notch and ask Amazon, and Amazon will nearly always side with the customer. So I would rather just take care of it right off the bat and have a happy customer than have an angry customer that's battling me. JD, do you think living in a big city like Los Angeles is an advantage or disadvantage? That's a good question, JD. So we live in Orlando, which, I mean, that's a pretty sizable city as well. LA is a little bit bigger, but it has both advantages and disadvantages. From our personal experience, Orlando is like the shopping mecca of this side of the US. There are so many stores here because people come for Universal, they come for Disney, and then they go shopping. I mean, from my house, I was looking up, I think it was Barnes & Noble. I was trying to hit some Barnes & Nobles. There was 19 Barnes & Nobles within a 1.5 hour drive of my house. I could hit 19 different ones. Like, that is ridiculous. On the flip side, though, like when I'm going to these Kohls or if I'm hitting like a Nike outlet, anytime I'm in a Nike outlet, I will see other teams of resellers there. None of like the huge major reseller stores I have all to myself. There is so much more competition here. Even like Kohl's and Walmart, places like that. It's very obvious when there's another reseller by. And in my case, I mean, there's hundreds of resellers that live around Orlando or within Central Florida. So it is both an advantage and a disadvantage. I think take advantage of the fact that you can hit a bunch of different stores, and then don't get too discouraged if one specific store is completely wiped clean, because it'll happen when there's other resellers nearby. So yeah, hopefully that helps, JD. Troy asks if I use BrickSeek. Yeah, I do use BrickSeek. I mean, it's kind of hit or miss, but there's enough hits to make it worthwhile. For those unaware, BrickSeek is a stock checker for stores like Walmart and Target and places like that. So if I, for example, let's say I want to find if Walmart is carrying any copies of the 4-Hour Workweek, I can either scan or type in the barcode of this book into brickseek.com, and it will tell me the quantity levels roughly of every Walmart in my area. Now, it's not perfectly accurate, but on average, if BrickSeek says that there's more than 6 units at the store, they probably have some of them. The only exception is if it's a grocery item and there's a pandemic going on, in which case they have no idea how much a store has. People are buying stuff and it's getting restocked too fast for them to keep track. But under normal circumstances, like if I'm trying to find a specific Lego toy or something like that during Q4, BrickSeek is pretty useful for that, especially if you're doing like a long road trip. And Sir Godfrey asks, what do I do with my bad buys? Do I return it to the store? Realize I was gated. I personally don't return anything to stores. I find that to be kind of bad business. I don't think it's like the end of the world, especially if you got 1 or 2 things, like, that's not really a big deal. But for me, when I'm making like $1,000, $10,000, $15,000 purchases at a store, I'm not going to roll my carts back to the store. That would be kind of a jerky thing to do. And it would ruin my relationship with managers. So I don't return them. I will try to sell them on other platforms, like eBay, things like that. Or I might donate them. I know just a couple months ago, Hustle Buddies, there was someone involved with foster care that was talking about like getting people's death pile. So if you have a big death pile and you don't know what to do with it and you're thinking about returning it, go do a search in our group, and there's a lady who helps like facilitate foster care places. You can send her your stuff and that'd be awesome. All right, final call for Facebook. Any last questions before we hop off and end this room? All right. I think that's it, guys. Thanks for coming out to our Sunday night hangout. We will see you guys next week if you want to stop on back in. And if you have other questions that I didn't answer, feel free to either post them over in the group, or if you're on YouTube, just post a comment on one of the pertaining videos. All right. We will see you guys. Have an awesome one.